What does that even mean, Bowers game?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review, and today I'm very excited to check out Table Tantrums from Forlorn Hope. This is for 2 to 6 players. Take about 20 to 40 minutes to play, and I'd say it's for ages about 9, 10 plus. And in Table Tantrums, you are going to be trying to set out different characters at a table without causing table tantrums. What's a table tantrum? Well, that's when you have a disruptive condition, like a preacher next to a lady of the night, or like the mistress of the house next to the mistress's wife, or other bad things like that. You're going to be playing action cards, playing out characters, but is the game good? Let's open it up, and I'll tell you about it. Alrighty then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Table Tantrums. First and foremost, we got a handy dandy rule booklet. It's really kind of one-page, double-sided, and it's got some pictures, some illustrations. It's not as well done as it should be, which is unfortunate. It's a very simple game once you know what you're doing, or once you think you know what you're doing, but it really doesn't tell you how to deal out the cards, and there's a couple times where you're like, I think this is how this is supposed to work, but there's no FAQ. It could be a lot better, and how small the rule booklet is definitely, kind of points out the problems with the rule booklets a little bit more, if that makes sense. So in Table Tantrums, you are going to be dealt a hand of cards, and in these cards you are going to have characters, and then you're also going to have actions, which are kind of like modifiers for the different characters. What you're trying to do is play all the cards from your hand. If you play all the cards from your hand, then you win the game. But it's not that easy, because not everyone is going to not going to want to sit next to other people. For instance, peasants are not going to want to sit by nobility. Actually, flip that around. Nobility are not going to sit by peasants. Likewise, the hostess's wife is not going to want to sit by the hostess's mistresses. And preachers are not going to want to sit by whores, and all sorts of various different things like that. And you'll quickly understand what I'm talking about. So you're going to deal out all the cards, then you're also going to deal out cards to the center as well. So for instance, in like a 3-player game, you'd have card, 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 card. So the middle is going to have the same size hand as everyone else has. And on your turn, you're going to be able to do 3 things. So first, start off the game, player with the host card, which is this little guy right here, is going to go first, and they're going to place the host at the front center of the table. And then you're going to be able to take 3 actions on your turn. First one is that you can move a character at the table. You can move them 1 space, either closer to the host or further away from the host. Now, the very first turn you can't do that, because the host's special ability is that he must sit middle of the top table. So he is not going to move for any circumstance whatsoever, pretty much. And this is a good time to point out what you really would need to know on the cards. So the important thing is obviously the text, but also the number right here. That's the high nobility rating. And you can only sit next to someone as long as you are plus or minus 1 from that person, or equal. So this is the host, and only a 6 or a 5 can sit next to the host. That's important, because when the table starts to fill up, it's going to be more difficult to play cards. So first thing you do, you can move a character. Obviously, we can't do it now. Next, you get to play one of your action cards. Let's see. So we can play an action card on the host, and only 1 action card could be on a character. Let's see. We have Messy Eater. There we go. So we have the Messy Eater right here. So cannot sit next to a noble character, and we will make the host a Messy Eater. So noble characters cannot sit here or there, which is unfortunate. Last but not least, you're going to play one of the characters from your hand. And just before we get started, I do want to mention that if you cannot play a character from your hand because it would create a disruptive condition, you have to draw 1 card, and that is the end of your turn. Draw 1 card from the center right here. But obviously, there are plenty of open table spaces, so that will not be a problem. So let's see, we'll play this one. We have the Foreign Notable's Wife. She is a foreign. She cannot sit at the top table. So you know what? We'll put her right there, close to the top table, and that would be our entire turn. So now the next player would go, and they're going to rinse, wash, repeat, doing 3 things. So they could move a character, so they could move this person if they wanted. Let's just say they do it for funsies. Then they can add an action, play an action card. So let's see. Well, so indiscreet. So she will be indiscreet, which means she cannot sit next to the spy master, the gossip, or scandal mongerer. And you really always want to play those because it's just a good way to get cards out of your hand. And then she will play another character. So she could see the food taster. Yeah, she'll put the food taster. It must be at the top table only, obviously, because he has to make sure food isn't poison. So we'll put him right there. And then it would move on to the next player's turn. So what you're going to do is you're going to continue to fill up the table, play different action cards, and go until someone has played all the cards in their hand. They will win the game. If it ever gets to a situation where everyone cannot play a card from their hand and there are no more cards left in the pool in the middle right there, then you will tally up the numbers in the upper left hand corner, the nobility numbers, and whoever has the lowest number will be the winner of the game. And that, in a nutshell, is how Table Tantrums played. Alrighty then, Table Tantrums from Forlorn Hope. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros. Let's go over the cons. Before we do that, though, I do want to mention I made one screw up in the middle part that I noticed where I played an action card on the host. You cannot do that. That's a big no-no. Actually, the action card that I played on the host would have completely screwed up the game. So just wanted to mention that right then and there. Moving on to the pros and cons, though. First, on the pros side, 2 to 6 players has a wider player count, which is always a good thing. 20 to 40 minutes means that this could potentially be a game night filler game, which is always a good thing. And the game is also easy to understand when someone is teaching it to you. So that could potentially work as a game night filler game / family game, as long as I'd say your kids are ages 9, 10, 11, 12 plus. So it's going to be hitting a couple different niches there. I also liked how the action cards worked and how the different characters worked. And I liked all that. And I felt like it had a really cool aesthetic appeal as the table slowly filled up with different characters and you planned out where you were going to put different characters and which actions you wanted to put on different characters. I liked all of that about the game. Micro cards. I normally hate micro cards, but this game makes it work because they nicely tuck up underneath the table at the different dinner spots and it just looks cool. And if you had larger cards, then it would work because it would just be this massive board and it would just screw it up a little bit. Any other pros I have with the game? I'm going to say this right now. Gameplay-wise, mechanism-wise, looking at this purely in that, I actually enjoyed the game. I had some fun with the game, and I don't think it's a bad game. But there are so many things surrounding this game that ruined this game for me and for everybody I played it with. So Table Tantrums, let's start off by saying this. Is it a great game? No. But I feel like it's a decent game. I feel like it's a good game. But unfortunately, it gets botched down by lots of problems. And we're going to start with the components. I'm going to start with the box because the box really frustrates the crap out of me. This is the box. This spot is where you hold micro cards. Yeah, micro cards. Look at this board. You fold up the board like this, and it takes up this much of the box. Yet this box is massive for what the components are. It's ridiculous. Honestly, if you replaced these 3 boards with just a folded mat, like a mat you could unfold, you could probably fit this into a slightly large tuck box. That's the size this game should be, but the box is huge. But moving on to the actual other component problems. Graphic design wise, this is a slight little nuisance. I wish the text on the cards was on the top, so that way when you slide cards into the table, you can slide them as far as you want, and you'd still be able to see all the different actions and all the different text on the characters. But as it stands now, you kind of have to tuck it out so you can see the text. It's a slight graphic design nuisance, but it is something that I did want to mention. Rules! 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 This is 1 page. If you have a 1-page rule booklet, there should be no issues with it whatsoever. That is just a law. That is Bauer's Law of Board Game. If your rule booklet is shorter than 2 pages, there should be no mistakes in it. Period. This is not a good rule booklet. Is it a terrible rule booklet? No, but considering how small the rule booklet is, I'm going to say it's a bad rule booklet. It doesn't really clearly teach you how to pass the cards out when you first start. You're supposed to pass out all the cards, but it doesn't clearly say that. So when you're first starting, you're like, do we get 7 cards? Do we get 11 cards? Do we get 8 cards? I'm not quite sure because it doesn't say. And then somebody, like the third person reading the rule booklet, say, wait, I think we just deal out all the cards to everybody. It's just not clear. And there's some other instances where you're like, I think that this is what we're supposed to do. And that's frustrating with how small the rule booklet is. Artwork, and I'm going to mention the artwork. I'm going to start off by saying I actually don't hate the artwork, but everyone else who saw the game was like, ugh, that looks terrible. I feel like my friend put it best. He said, I feel like this artwork was drawn by the guy who was the best artist at his work, and he works in like a factory or something. I feel like they just were like, hey, Larry's pretty good at drawing stuff. Let's have him draw the game. And what you get is just a game that maybe it was going for like a particular appeal or something like that, a particular art style, and it just completely misses the mark. The art is just not good, and that's going to turn off some people immediately. So component wise, that's bad. The rules, they're not good, and it just bogs down the entire game. Also, I liked it. I felt like 6 players was just a little bit too much. It just dragged on a little bit too much as people were trying to figure out, oh wait, where can I play this card? When can I play this? I can't play it here. I can't play it here. And that's frustrating. And with 6 players, especially at the higher player counts, you can't even really look at the board because you know there's going to be 5 more characters out there, and there's going to be new actions out there, and the board is going to be reset, and that's a slight nuisance. So it has a couple sweet spots on player counts. I really liked it at 3 and 4 best. But overall, Table Tantrums is just not one that I'm going to recommend. I feel like if someone redid this game, maybe put a humorous theme on it, some humor in it, some better artwork, some better components, this could be a contender. This could be a decent game. But as it stands now, Table Tantrum is just bogged down by too many things that unfortunately are non-gameplay related. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click on the subscribe button down below in the comments below. Let me know, do you have another game like this where the gameplay itself is not bad, but things outside of the gameplay kind of ruin the game for you? For me personally, I really can't think of too many off the top of my head, and it probably is just because I didn't keep the game. I'm sure there's some out there, but I feel like this is a pretty rare occurrence where just things outside of the gameplay ruin the game for me. Let me know in the comments below, and as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.